Welcome to Strength in Concrete, the podcast presented by the Post-Tensioning Institute, recognized as the leading authority in advancing the post-tensioning industry. In today's episode, Tim Crystal, Executive Vice President of PTI, and Brandon Harmon, PTI engineer, dive into the Institute's commitment to education. They discuss how the board-level education committee creates valuable content to serve a diverse membership base. You will hear about the PTI Academy webinar series launched in 2024. These free monthly webinars, presented by industry experts, are available both live and on demand. They cover a variety of post-tensioning topics and provide opportunities to earn continuing education credits. The conversation also highlights PTI's convention technical sessions. These focus on key areas like buildings, slab-on-ground, bridges, and repair. With the May 2026 convention coming up in Long Beach, California, they explain how attendees can access 16 hours of content while also earning PDH and AIA credits. Finally, Tim and Brandon explore the new two-part design seminars, the benefits of field certification for project teams, and PTI's latest outreach initiatives. Let's join their conversation.
All right. So we're glad to be here at this podcast opportunity to talk about the Post-Tensioning Institute and our education focus, education initiatives. I'm Tim Crystal, the Executive Vice President with the Post-Tensioning Institute, and I'll let Brandon introduce himself.
I'm Brandon Harmon with the Post-Tensioning Institute. I joined about 2 years ago as engineer, spent 10 years as a design structural engineering consultant and with a post-tensioning background, and wanted to join PTI on education and helping Tim out with that.
Right. Yeah, so we appreciate this opportunity to delve into that topic and talk about what PTI specifically is trying to do with education. I'll let Brandon talk eventually here as well about our specific committee we have. It's a board-level committee we have at PTI called our EDC 130 committee. He'll talk about that. We'll also get into just an outline of where we're headed with this conversation and talk about our PTI Academy, our education initiatives in that front, also our design seminars that Brandon's been very significantly involved in leading, and just all things we're doing across the board. With the Post-Tensioning Institute, obviously our members are very important to us. We've got a variety of different member types. We've got not only PT suppliers, but consulting engineers, contractors, architects, people that deal with certain accessory materials, international members, domestic members, anything you can think of as far as our membership base, and we want to address their needs for education. And then again, we'll talk about things we've not only accomplished, but where we're headed in Spotlight 2026 as well, and to just grow the discussion from there. So I think maybe we start with the Education Committee, which was formally structured years ago to really give a focus at a committee level, the PTI, the EDC 130. Maybe since you're the PTI liaison with that committee, talk a little bit about its goals and its focus.
Yeah, so the Education Committee, they really spearheaded our PTI Academy that we offer every month. Really, their goals are to create content and disseminate information from all of our different committees. So they're like the centerpiece for all of our different, like our building committee or bridge committees, like all the different committees that we have to come together, create content and educational information, and then disseminate that information to the industry. So like I said, our PTI Academy that we offer every month, once a month, second Wednesday, that's been great. I think it's been going for about a year, 2 years now.
Yeah, 2 years old. Yeah, we're
great way to get continuing education credits, different topics. If you can't catch it, the live version of it that's free to watch on demand afterwards. So it's a great way to just every month just get introduced into different post-tensioning topics. And like I said, if you can't join the live version, you can go watch past presentations that have been made over the last 2 years.
Yeah, and it was great when we launched that in 2024. It was something we hadn't really offered formally in the years past, and there was a lot of discussions leading up to that point whether we'd really like to have something like that. Then we had a conversation about whether it's monetized or free, and we found there to be a lot of great attendance. We want to provide that we provide it free and have been to get the information out to the registrants, to let them, again, gain access to that insight. And our presenters that are really great, they bring expertise from that topic, and it's 45 to 50 minutes of content. It's really great to be able to really like Brandon touched on, get behind the publications, get into the applications in the real world, get into what everything really means, what its purpose is. And so that's been a huge accomplishment for the Education Committee. I will say our current chair of that committee is Kyle Boyd, one of our key professional members, and it's been a huge success. And we've already filled out our 2026 calendar, I think, for topics. And what's great is we also have a survey that helps talk to our registrants, find out what else they want to learn about, and we react very positively to those survey results and build our next topics off of them. So.
Yeah, all the topics come from all of our people that attend the webinars. We take that feedback seriously and try to provide education based on that feedback. So I know we get a lot of feedback about slab-on-ground and repair because there's a lot of that need out there, but we take that feedback and try to provide an education accordingly.
Yeah. And then maybe we'll talk next about the other key element the Education Committee is really tied into, which is an annual event we do at our convention where we have our technical sessions program. And that's another opportunity to have live presentations. Typically our sessions are like 2-hour blocks where we have a 2-hour block on PT buildings, 2-hour block on repairs, 2 hours on slab-on-ground, 2 hours on bridges and multi-strand and things like that. So we have our convention in 2026 coming up in May in Long Beach, California. So maybe, again, expand upon EDC, but most specifically our tech sessions and how important that has been in our education toolbox.
Yeah, so tech sessions, it's grouped into main subjects. So we've got slab-on-ground tech sessions, building tech sessions, bridge tech sessions, and repair tech sessions. Every year we do our best to make sure that tech sessions are available to everyone that wants to come to the convention and go to the technical meetings, can go to the technical meetings, but also go to the technical sessions. But it's a big part of our education, and that experts from each one of those committees present on different sessions that they're familiar with, and that's a great way to get to see different aspects of the industry, but like different case studies and things that you wouldn't see otherwise that get presented at our tech sessions that are really good to see.
It's the last 2 years, this year as well, is going to be essentially about 16 hours of content. PDH is associated with all that. So if someone's interested in continuing education, which most people are, great opportunity to get a lot of PDHs and fulfill those requirements. We've also, over the years, have evolved where not only have the RCEP, PDH connectivity, but also we've got connections through AIA. So even architects and people that are looking at AIA continuing ed have that opportunity to work that through as well. But yeah, that program has been great over the years. I know we've done a great job this year to plan ahead to really try to segregate tech sessions from committee meetings. We always have done topical segregations, if you will, to keep the bridge people at the bridge sessions and not tied up in a committee meeting. And now this year, we're really going to have nice windows of sessions uninterrupted by committee meetings, which people have, again, that's a response to people's requests from a survey. So yeah, I think that's been great. The next topic would be a big thing that we started last year in response again to demand from the industry and a need. Back 10, 15 years ago, we probably did a little more of this on a spotty basis, but now we've, starting in 2025, formalized our design seminars. We kicked that off in 2025 as a live seminar format. We've done it in person, but we also did it as a webinar. So again, Brandon, key leader on our side for education initiatives, and he was very much the backbone of producing these seminars with, again, some of our subject matter experts. But I'll let you chat more about our design seminars that we've created and how that's going and how that's evolving.
Yeah, so we've got 2 different design seminars, one for post-tension buildings, one for post-tension slab-on-ground. Each one of those are a 2-part series. Part 1 is what we rolled out this past year. Part 1 is diving into more of the introduction gives a brief introduction into what is post-tensioning and the different applications, and then it gets more into kind of the basics of design and basic concepts of post-tensioning. And then part 2 of each one of those design seminars is really intended to, okay, now that you've got the design done, what's the proper way to document that design? And then once it's documented, okay, now what are the right ways to do things during construction and close out and all of that. So part 2, that's coming this year. We're working on it now. Should be Q3
somewhere there
this year that we'll roll out part 2 of those design seminars. But we've got part 1 finished and recorded, and we should be rolling that out to be available here in the next month or 2.
Right. And the beauty of that, again, we've had people asking for those design seminars. There's a lot of people in the industry that do post-tension design, and they have quite a bit of experience. And sometimes they might want to just get an update on new code requirements or new design methodologies or whatever it might be to advance where they stand. And then there's others that are at the beginner stage that are, in some cases, fearful of how do I design a PT structure? What does that involve? Is it some voodoo magic engineering mystery, or is it very straightforward? What does it involve? So from beginners to intermediates to even advanced people, we've really had a nice mixture of audience members that are trying to get what they want to get out of our education. And the beauty is, it's easy enough for us to really, I know we both have PT background and we have experience, and a lot of that as engineers ourselves designing buildings, but it's having walked in those shoes, understanding that if just someone's brand new to a slab-on-ground design or a podium or a multi-story building or a parking structure or whatever it might be, that, yeah, they might have these preconceived notions about what that entails, but ultimately we make it very clear and concise and tie into our standards and examples and stuff that really makes it much easier for them to adapt. And I think it's been great how we've done it. I give kudos to Brandon for really helping spearhead that one. When he joined PTI, he was very interested in leading our education efforts. And it really makes a big difference because the calling we had from the industry was to open those doors to people that are getting involved in PT. They have maybe an architect or owner or developer they do a lot of work for, and they're like, hey, we want to do a post-tension project. They're like, haven't done one before, but we'll find out. And then we get them up to speed. So that's been very rewarding, I think. And there's more to come, honestly.
Yeah, and you touched on it. It's a great introduction to just get you more comfortable with post-tensioning, and it's not this scary thing or should never be. It's
yeah, I mean, it's very easy to work with when you get into the understanding of it.
Right.
It's a very powerful tool. And then the other thing cool about the education side, even though this is more specifically tied to our certification programs, our field personnel certification, I actually just touched on some of this in a press conference here at the World of Concrete, but really important linkage between our field personnel certification workshops and education, because not only is it trying to educate and train those individuals so they can ultimately get certified as a level 1 or level 2 installation of post-tensioning person or inspector or a supervisor. There's someone who's dealing with unbonded PT or multi-strand PT or doing buildings or slab-on-ground. Not only is it all that certification side, but the backbone again of that is education, and those 2-day workshops or 3-day workshops are very much educational tools. And there was people that are from the field that are learning, people that are also engineers, inspectors, safety managers, whatever, that come and you go through that. Brandon, I did that when I first started PTI. I went through our workshops to experience it on that side of the fence. Brandon did that last year, maybe even 2024. And it's a great, you can sense, like you say, when you can talk about your experience too, and just how that is valuable education. And even if you're not trying to get field certified, it's recommended to go through that as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's maybe a little bit of a misconception about the certification workshops, is that it's only for field personnel, and that's not the case at all. I knew about it as a consultant, but when I actually got to take it and go through it, I learned a lot of things, and things that are in the PTI intent spec that should be done in the field that are important and should be included in a specification for an engineer. So things like that should be in the specs, but additionally, as an engineer, just speaking from an engineer's perspective, when you go do a site observation, the right things to look for. To me, that was very valuable to go through the certification workshop just to have a better understanding of what to look for. It's a good tool.
It certainly gives you a leg up on others if you're trying to hold somebody accountable in the field. If you don't have that knowledge yourself, you sometimes can come off a little foolish to just not connect the dots between what you're asking for in the contract documents versus what they're trying to do in the field. And so it's highly valuable education as well. And that's really PTI's goal across the board. We always try and think about everyone who's involved in the project team, not have people in silos where I'm just worrying about engineering and I'm just worried about construction and I'm worried about what it's all about, how that ties together. And you got to appreciate just as much as the contractors, the people installing PT and rebar should have a deep appreciation of what the designer's done, why they did it, why do they detail it that way, why do they have certain requirements in the journal notes, whatever. And that's all. If you appreciate each other's intentions and expertise, it always leads to a much better project. And there's probably not enough of that in the world to begin with. There needs to be a lot more collaboration and appreciation for what each one's bringing to the project. Okay. Again, on the future front, we've talked about some of the things we've recently accomplished, things that are right in front of us in 2026. I think down the road, as we look the next several years, as far as education is concerned, again, it's always that building on what we have and making it even better. I think it's another piece that's really key for workforce development and even diving further down the entry point. Maybe talking about colleges and universities. That's another, call it germination point of people that are studying civil engineering, specializing potentially in either construction management or civil structural or whatever it may be that leads them to that journey to where now they have a fork in the road of, yeah, I'm going to learn about concrete design. I'm going to learn about steel. I'm going to learn about wood. I might learn about such and such construction tactics, this, that. But then we want to connect PTI with college university students, obviously through professors, through assistant professors, and really leverage another point of introducing people to the PT industry. So maybe some of our tactics we're thinking about doing there, you could talk about those and how we get to that age group.
Yeah, so we're looking at trying to, like you said, get in touch with the professors, associate professors, and just coming and doing maybe a 1 hour or 2 hour class, just to maybe not like a full-blown seminar, but just a good introduction to post-tensioning and what it is, the concept, so that if someone sees it, it's not maybe as scary or uncomfortable when they do get in the workforce. And it's been our experience that a lot of students don't get exposed to post-tensioning unless they're at a graduate level course. So getting undergraduate students exposed to post-tensioning, even the graduate level students, just getting a better feel for what post-tensioning actually really looks like in the real world, and as opposed to a classroom setting where it's very technical and theoretical, but actually seeing it and understanding how it's put together in the real world, I think is beneficial.
And that's some of the fun stuff too, is as much as, like I say, we're talking to future engineers or future contractors, whatever, but the cool thing about PT is we really put one of the big feathers in our cap is really cool buildings, really thin slabs, really neat shapes, amazing bridges, amazing stay cable bridges, really interesting storage trap. There's so many neat things that PTI deals with from a project outcome standpoint, even just getting to college university students and letting them understand where that comes from, how it's achieved, and how that industry they completely may have no idea about it. But then now you're like taking, like I say, instead of just going through equations and worrying about stresses and strains and how much force you need and all that, it's even that lighting up their eyes with, wow, I can do that kind of bridge, or I can do that kind of building, and I didn't know I could do. We're always blown away when we get project submittals, for example, for project awards every other year. And some of the things people come up with, as much as I've done some engineering in my life and Brandon's done some, there's some stuff where we're like, wow, like how they did that. And it took some guts and it took some wherewithal, but you can only imagine what a student in college might think of that kind of thing. And it's, like I say, yes, we have a post-tensioning interest and that's our institute's focus, but we think it's important for those young students and future young professionals to really see what's out there for. It pays a big dividends. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on, you think, in the education forum?
Yeah, coming up this year, in addition to the getting in front of more colleges and universities, we're also looking to reach out to different structural engineering associations and try to connect with local chapters and do some presentations on that front as well, because I think that's a good way to have a live Q&A feedback with different states and just a way to connect with people on the local level.
That's absolutely correct. And then even at those chapters and things, you get regional differences, the things you learn from them. I've seen the Q&As go through those where you're suddenly like, oh, I didn't think about that. And then it makes you think on your feet about what kind of response you'd have to certain questions. And then we have opportunities to go out and talk to people about best practices and tactics for making things more constructible. We touched on recently about our new alliance with the ACI Center of Excellence Pro and concrete construction productivity, and just leveraging those kinds of things and helping understand how to communicate that to these local chapters and groups, things that are not written in any kind of book anywhere. They're just lessons learned, things we've learned from our members even that say, here's the way we'd like to see this detailed, or here's the way we'd like to see this built, or here's what we meant by this. Just once we tie all those loose ends together, I think it's huge. And that's great on a regional and grassroots level. So, yeah. Okay. Like I said, we've got a lot going on at PTI from the education standpoint. It's always been a cornerstone of our important stuff. We have a key group at PTI that Brandon works with, myself and others very closely. We have our technical education, promotion, certification, four main elements, the pillars of our technical side is the overarching. So that education piece is super critical, and it really tentacles to everything else, like we've touched on. And if we can do nothing else but educate a lot of people, make them smarter about post-tensioning, make them do it more efficiently, safer, and then do that both to the engineering community and the construction community, and get to owners and developers, I think we've done our job. That's our main objective, I think, is. And it's exciting stuff, and certainly thrilled to have someone of Brandon's caliber on our team to help us bring real world experience to that equation and couple that with all the other things we're doing with our committees and members. So yeah, that's where we're at on education at PTI. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Strength in Concrete, brought to you by the Post-Tensioning Institute. We hope today's discussion provided you with valuable perspectives on the advancements and opportunities shaping our field. If you would like to deepen your knowledge or explore additional resources, we invite you to visit our website at www.post-tensioning.org. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Strength in Concrete on your favorite podcast platform and enable notifications so you never miss an update. Until next time, this is Strength in Concrete, your trusted source for post-tensioning expertise. We look forward to connecting with you next time.